Hello there, Commonwealth from you. In the era of the wild and Tears Hyrule, there are a number of locations and ruins that go far back. Castletown was at least 10,000 years old when it was smoked by guardians. Then you have Gerudo Town, the biggest standing and most populated settlement in the land after the Great Calamity, and one of the best fortified locations in both Breath and Tears. Still, there's so little we know about this girl power settlement, and in this video we'll explore its past in depth. So be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell. There's something unique about Gerudo Town of Breath the Wild and its underground expansion in Tears of the Kingdom, a fully sufficient female paradise in the middle of Gerudo Desert. No wonder Princess Zelda liked to visit this location from a young age. Getting in and cross-dressing in the era of the Wild as Link may have felt limiting, but also greatly fulfilling in Breath the Wild as a forbidden city for all those. And the reason as to why was Ganondorf. But what is even more interesting is that the already impressive capital of Gerudo, or southwestern Hyrule, was bigger, much grander in fact. A truth that was finally confirmed by Zelda Notes, Breath the Wild, and Zelda's voiced memories for that game.
The North Gerudo ruins are the largest in all of the desert. Based on the sizable quarry and numerous ruins scattered about Gerudo Highlands, it appears that Gerudo Town was once quite large. I've heard that this area of the town was destroyed by a rampaging Molduga employed by a tyrant, but it is merely a theory.
Very interesting indeed. Which begs the question, how old is Gerudo Town? Could it be just as old as Castletown? Or is it older? Since reading the line about a tyrant and rampaging Molduga makes you think of two things, Ganondorf and the statues of the great heroines. The latter which again ties to the mystery of the ancient heroes aspect. The hero prior to Link, who was victorious in the battle against the Calamity, so 10,000 plus years prior to the start of Link's awakening in the Shrine of Resurrection. This humanoid creature thought of a threat for the Gerudo, and they commemorated him for said effort, though in a little isolated spot since he was a foe. With that said, a Molduga attack from a tyrant can only mean one thing, Ganondorf. His Molduga attack on the Great Plateau was repelled by the royal secret stone trio of Rauru, Sonia and Zelda, but the Gerudo had no such tool to repel a demonic threat. This in fact makes me believe that Gerudo Town could predate the 7 heroines and go all the way back to the distant past, so to Ganondorf and his Gerudo Kingdom. That is a sign, and the possible distant past mural in the underground shelter of Gerudo Town pointing to how to make the Lightning Temple appear. The truth is that we don't know the real scope of the Gerudo capital in its kingdom days, an era which could have been the literal golden age of the tribe until King Ganondorf turned into the Demon King and destroyed said greatness when his tribe opposed him and his demon army. And we know this as the about to become distant past Zora Sage of Water says this to the assembled leaders in Tears of the Kingdom.
King Rauru, we just received word that the last free village in the Gerudo Desert has fallen.
We can see how the Gerudo Sage responds to this single line, which is additional proof before Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment that the Gerudo also did not live in tents like what was the case in Four Swords Adventures. They had villages, and by all indications the town, or dare I say city, of the Gerudo. As the ruins surrounding Gerudo Town in all directions and scattered across the desert, with multiple more rediscovered in Tears of the Kingdom, tells us this. A story of a great power that had a collapse, upon which it was confined inside its current, smaller walls. Back when the Gerudo was a kingdom, and which until Rauru's Kingdom of Hyrule was the most powerful tribe on the surface. A greatness that was utterly destroyed by the last Gerudo king. And there's good reason to stick to that belief, as the North Gerudo ruins are connected to Gerudo Town through the underground tunnel system. Something Princess Zelda also pointed out in a voiced memory on this location in the Tears of the Kingdom section of Zelda Notes.
The North Gerudo ruins are connected to Gerudo Town via an underground pathway that Riju showed me. She told me it was an escape route in the event of an emergency, but that short of some immense disaster, she couldn't imagine using it for such a purpose.
Stretching from the underground part of Gerudo Town, beneath the throne room, all the way to the end of the North Gerudo ruins, truly demonstrating how big the Gerudo capital could have potentially been in the distant past. Well, that now reduced it might have become after the imprisoning war. Based on the information provided from Princess Zelda, and more so drawing first a line from Gerudo Town to the edge of the North Gerudo ruins and then start a circle from here, we get a very interesting picture. A collection that goes as follows in clockwise direction. North Gerudo ruins, Karakara Bazaar, ancient prison ruins, Southern Oasis, Arbiter's Grounds, the Lightning Temple Pyramid, and the West Gerudo ruins before going back to North Gerudo ruins. Now, we don't say that all of this was a single city, as we hear the Sage of Water referencing villages, but it is clear that there was more to Ganondorf's kingdom. Still, with this circle, we see how big this place might have been, and why it likely wasn't walled. So how do you go from this destruction, heavy drop in population caused by Demon King Ganondorf and his army of monsters, where upon which all that remains are ruins and a Gerudo population which goes completely against men apart from the sole purpose of reproduction with Hylians, rebuilding the seat for the new chiefdom as a smaller, though far more fortified core. In many ways, we could see this as 3 stages. Breath of the Wild gave us an introduction to Gerudo Town. Tears of the Kingdom showed us that it had a layer underneath the confines of its walls, and finally, Zelda Notes pointed to the settlement stretching further out. It is a real shame that we never got to see it on the Nintendo Switch though, as Princess Zelda only meets the distant past Sage of Lightning inside the Lightning Temple Pyramid. Nothing else of the distant past Gerudo society is shown, and perhaps not showing that kingdom was deliberate. Since Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment is the final chance to see this last unseen wonder in any of the cutscenes or even masterworks in its prime. A city that might perhaps be even bigger than Rara's distant past capital, or even the burnt down Hyrule Castle town itself. The Great Plateau one, which we have already been teased to explore while in control of the characters. The Great Plateau annoyed Ganondorf for a reason, as Rara's capital was literally his neighbor and prevented any further expansion of the Gerudo kingdom. Speaking of the Desert King, could he have lived in a palace of his own that was different from the seat of Chief Urbosa and Richu? I hope we get the answer before the start of Zelda's 40th anniversary, as it would be a new type of seat for Ganondorf. Exploring or even fighting in its halls would be mind-blowing, especially since the distant past memories in Tears of the Kingdom take place on the Great Plateau, near the plateau, or underground/depths. But that's just the palace of the Gerudo Kingdom. If fully explorable like Castle Town was in Age of Calamity, what could this Gerudo Town have been like and be like in Age of Imprisonment? Based on the ruins in Breath and Tears, we could have ancient Egypt-like streetscapes to explore and fight in. Think streets that are filled with arches and columns stretching as far as the eye can see. All kinds of smaller temples, and most of all, statues, including the Gerudo King, Ganondorf. Still, it begs one question. Would this capital be in scale? Likely not, as Hyrule Castle Town in Age of Calamity was shrunk down. But even then, experiencing any form of Ganondorf's royal capital and its inevitable destruction by a tyrant's Molduga would be a spectacle to behold. In particular, since we have no concept art of this Gerudo city, not even in Masterworks. A capital which could be completely different from the current Gerudo town, with the perfect blend of ancient Egyptian and medieval Middle Eastern architecture. Think ancient Egypt's Luxor and Aswan, Damascus Old Town, and the lost medieval Baghdad. Based on the scale of the ruins in the Era of the Wild, and measure the Lightning Temple in the Era of Tears, plus the later statues of the heroines, it is clear that the Gerudo had a taste for massive construction projects. Ganondorf, as an almighty king, definitely grew up in Opulence, but seeing it in action is what is missing. And that is the thing with Gerudo Town in Age of Imprisonment. It can be a brand new and completely different location and settlement in a land that we don't really know, bringing back that feeling of freshness we had in Breath of the Wild, but were missing in Tears of the Kingdom. Especially since even the distant past memories didn't reveal anything of Gerudo Desert of the distant past, where there could be a royal city ruled by Ganondorf until he takes out Queen Sonia and steals her secret stone to become the Demon King. Exploring it first in its prime, and then being part of its failed defense and witnessing this glorious achievement built by countless generations of Gerudo crumbling due to a Molduga attack from the sole Gerudo Voe turned Demon King, Ganondorf. But what do you think about the mysterious and grand past of Gerudo Town? Was it once the royal capital of Ganondorf? And was it destroyed during the imprisoning war? sound off in the comment section down below. If you haven't already, then be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell to not miss any upcoming Zelda, Age of Imprisonment and Nintendo Switch 2 videos. Last but not least, a big thanks to you for watching to the end and to all our patreon.com/commonrealm patrons. Special shoutouts go to Raw Producer, JC Funk, and Heroes, Cheryl, Garrett Hoy, Holly Wolf, and Kintaro. You all rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.